My wife cheated and left me for a wealthy CEO, dragging our kids with her and chasing a life of luxury, calling me a nobody on her way out. Years later, after his empire crumbled and the money vanished, I watch her and my ungrateful children come crawling back, begging for help from the man they once tossed aside like he was nothing. Daniel Conway stood by the huge windows in the Grand Meridian Hotel's ballroom, watching the city lights twinkle below, sipping his second scotch. The annual Trans Global Logistics Gala buzzed behind him, a sea of expensive dresses and sharp suits, likely costing more than his employees made in a month. He ran his logistics division with precision and care, making sure his 200 employees across 3 states had good benefits and fair wages, even if it meant smaller bonuses for himself. Daniel, darling, you're not networking. Natalie's voice had that familiar, disapproving tone. She appeared beside him in a red Valentino dress that had led to their first big fight in months. $1,000 for one night's wear seemed excessive, but she'd insisted it was an investment in their future. I've been talking with the Milwaukee team about putting in the new automated tracking system. Daniel turned to face his wife, noticing how her carefully styled blonde hair caught the chandelier light. After 16 years of marriage, she was still stunning, but lately, her beauty felt like a carefully built facade. Nobody wants to hear about work systems at a party, Natalie sighed, her green eyes already scanning the room. They suddenly brightened, and Daniel knew instantly who had caught her attention. Richard Whitaker held court in the middle of the room, like a conductor with his orchestra. The new CEO's Harvard MBA and family connections had got him the top job fast, and he hadn't let anyone forget it since. Richard was just telling us about his new yacht, Natalie gushed, already moving toward the crowd. 140 feet, custom built in Monaco. Come join us, darling. You might learn something. Daniel watched his wife slide effortlessly into the circle around Richard, who immediately made space for her at his side. At 45, Whitaker embodied what magazines called silver fox charm. Salt and pepper hair, a tennis club tan, and the kind of confidence that came from never having faced real consequences. Your wife's really something, Conway. Marcus Wheeler, a friend since college, came up beside him, slapping his shoulder with fake friendliness. Daniel's friend had changed since taking over the East Coast operations, acting more like a politician than a logistics guy. She is, Daniel replied neutrally, watching Richard lean close to whisper something in Natalie's ear that made her laugh too loudly. How's Sarah? Busy with the kids' college applications. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Listen, Dan, maybe you should join them. Richard's been asking about your division's performance. Daniel took another sip of scotch. My quarterly reports tell the story. We're up 12% in efficiency and 8% in profits. Numbers aren't everything in this business anymore, Marcus said carefully. Richard's big on modernizing by outsourcing and cutting corners. I've read his plans, Daniel cut in. They'll kill our quality and burn out our people. The conversation around Richard suddenly erupted in laughter. Daniel caught fragments about someone's new summer house in the Hamptons, then Natalie's voice rising above the others. Oh, Richard, you simply must show us pictures of the yacht's master suite later. That night, after a silent drive home in separate cars, Natalie had insisted on staying just a bit longer to discuss some charity event with Richard's circle. Daniel sat at his home office, reviewing quarterly projections. The shared family iPad chirped with a message notification. He usually ignored Natalie's devices, but something, intuition or fate, made him glance at the screen. The message preview showed Richard's name and the words, "Missing you already. Beautiful. Can't wait for." Daniel's hand was steady as he picked up the iPad. Natalie had forgotten to log out of her messages again. A careless mistake that seemed less like forgetfulness now. He scrolled through months of conversations, each message driving another nail into 16 years of marriage. The beach house is free this weekend. Marcus won't be using it. That dress today, you're torturing me in meetings. Daniel's so boring at these events. You deserve someone who can match your sophistication. The front door opened and closed. High heels clicked on hardwood. Daniel didn't turn when Natalie appeared in the office doorway. You're still up. Her voice held artificial lightness. It's past midnight. How long? Daniel kept his voice level, turning the iPad screen toward her. Natalie stiffened for just a moment, then her shoulders relaxed. A small, cruel smile played at the corners of her mouth. Does it matter? Months? Since Richard took over? With Marcus' help? Using his beach house? Daniel stood slowly. Were you ever going to tell me? Eventually, Natalie stepped into the office, her expensive perfume filling the space. Once everything was arranged, Richard's lawyer is excellent, and with his connections. She shrugged elegantly. You must have known this was coming. You're just a small-time manager. Regional operations, please. Richard is everything you're not. Ambitious, sophisticated, connected. He knows what real success looks like. Real success, Daniel repeated softly. Like buying your way to the top with daddy's money and an overpriced MBA? Don't be bitter, darling. It's unattractive. Natalie examined her manicure. I've already spoken with the girls. They understand completely. The casual mention of their daughters hit harder than anything else. You involved our children in this. They're 16, not babies. Emily and Lucy know what's best for them. Natalie's smile widened. Richard's already looking into summer programs in Switzerland for them. The kind of opportunities you could never provide. Daniel sat back down at his desk, his voice deadly calm. Get out of my office, Natalie. We'll discuss this with lawyers present. Gladly. Natalie turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Daniel? Richard's lawyer will reach out about the house. You'll need to be out by the end of the month. The girl shouldn't have to deal with things being awkward. The betrayal spread through Daniel's life like poison, revealing rot in relationships he'd thought solid. Marcus Wheeler, his friend of 20 years, avoided his calls for a week before finally agreeing to meet at their usual bar. I should have told you, Marcus admitted, not meeting Daniel's eyes. But Richard, he's the future of the company, Dan. Sarah and I have the kids' college to think about, and his plans for restructuring. Save it, Daniel said, his voice ice cold. 20 years of friendship, and you helped him screw my wife? Was letting them use your beach house part of getting you promoted? Marcus flinched. It wasn't like that. Natalie said you two were already having problems. We weren't. Daniel stood, dropping cash on the bar. But we sure as hell have them now. Goodbye, Marcus. Good luck with the changes. His sister, Catherine, was next. They met at her favorite cafe, where she'd insisted on buying him coffee to hash things out. Catherine had always been the family mediator, the reasonable one, but today her reasonable tone felt like nails on a chalkboard. You have to understand, Danny, she began, stirring her latte. Natalie was feeling trapped. Richard opened her eyes to a whole different world. Country clubs, charity galas, the right circles. I just helped her find her way a bit, showed her and the girls the ropes while she was cheating on your brother. Daniel's coffee sat untouched. How long have you been playing her guy, Cat? Catherine had the grace to look uncomfortable. The girls loved it. You should see them at the club. They've made such wonderful connections. Connections? Daniel cut her off. Is that what we're calling it? Tell me, does your husband know you helped wreck your brother's marriage just to get into a country club? That's not fair. Catherine protested. I was thinking of the girls' futures. Emily and Lucy deserve to learn that betrayal is okay if you get something out of it. Daniel stood. You're their aunt, Catherine. You were supposed to protect them, not help ruin them. The final blow came during what was supposed to be a family dinner with the twins. Daniel had made their favorites. Emily's chicken parmesan and Lucy's fettuccine alfredo, hoping food might bridge the growing gap between them. Instead, Lucy spent the first 20 minutes texting under the table, occasionally showing Emily something that made them both giggle. When Daniel asked about school, Lucy finally looked up, her expression a perfect mirror of Natalie's earlier cruelty. Actually, Dad, we need to talk, Lucy said, putting her phone down carefully. Uncle Richard thinks we should switch to Lancaster Prep. All his friends' kids go there, and it's way more prestigious than Westfield. Uncle Richard? Daniel repeated quietly. Since when do you call him that? Since he started acting more like a father than you ever did. Lucy shot back. He actually cares about our future. He's taking us to Paris for spring break. Did you know that? While you're stuck here worrying about your boring logistics job? Lucy. Emily spoke for the first time, her voice uncertain. She'd always been the more sensitive twin, more attuned to others' feelings. No, he needs to hear this. Lucy leaned forward, her 16-year-old face hard with practiced disdain. We want to live with Mom and Richard. We shouldn't waste time with losers like you. Richard says a lot of things. Daniel's voice was sharp. Tell me, Lucy, did your mother and Uncle Richard explain exactly how their relationship started? About the months of lies, using Marcus's beach house for their hookups. Mom said you tried to turn us against them. Lucy stood up, her chair scraping back. Come on, Emily. Richard's driver is waiting outside. We're done here. Emily hesitated, looking between her sister and father for a moment. A flicker of something like regret crossed her face. Then Lucy grabbed her arm, and the moment passed. Sorry, Dad, she muttered, following her sister out. Daniel sat alone at the dinner table, looking at the untouched food. Somewhere in the house, a clock ticked, each second feeling like a funeral bell. The law offices of Chung and Associates occupied the entire 42nd floor of a downtown high-rise. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic city views, but Daniel wasn't here for the scenery. He sat across from Natalie's shark of a lawyer, Teresa Chung, while his own attorney shifted uncomfortably beside him. Let's be reasonable, Mr. Conway. Chung's smile never reached her eyes. Your wife has endured years of emotional neglect while you focused on your career. Meanwhile, she dedicated herself to raising your daughters and maintaining your social standing. The courts will take that into consideration. Emotional neglect. Daniel's lawyer, James Foster, sputtered. Mrs. Conway had a months-long affair. Allegedly, Chung cut in smoothly. And even if true, one could argue it was due to Mr. Conway's constant absence and failure to meet his wife's emotional needs. The children's testimony will support this. You're putting my daughters on the stand? Daniel's voice was dangerously quiet. Emily and Lucy are old enough to tell the court about their experiences, Chung said, shuffling papers. They have very clear memories of missed recitals, short family trips, endless work calls. Because I was paying for their private school and their mother's fancy clothes, Daniel replied evenly. Tell me, Ms. Chung, will you also show evidence of how that affair started? The texts. Marcus Wheeler's beach house receipts. Chung's smile tightened. Mr. Conway, let's be civilized. Your wife is being generous. You can keep your retirement accounts, and we won't ask for alimony if you give up the house in primary custody. Generous. Daniel leaned forward. She cheats on me, turns my kids against me, and you call that generous? Daniel, Foster warned quietly. The girls have already said they want to live with their mother, Chung continued. Given their age, the court will likely agree. Fighting this will just cost you more money and hurt your children even more. Sign the agreement, Mr. Conway. Walk away with some dignity. The courtroom was worse. Natalie sat next to Richard, both looking perfect in expensive suits. She'd even prepped the twins on how to look. Emily and Lucy wore matching blue dresses that made them seem younger, more helpless. Lucy's testimony came first, delivered with practiced skill. Dad was never really there for us, she said, her eyes wide with fake sadness. He missed my ballet recital for a business meeting. When Mom and Richard started spending time together, it was different. Richard really listens. He makes time for family. Emily went next, less smooth, but just as hurtful. Dad's always been distant, she said, not quite looking at him. He cared more about his work than us. Richard helps us plan for college, introduces us to important people. The judge's ruling felt like a done deal. Daniel lost the house he'd spent 15 years paying for, primary custody of his daughters, and most of their joint savings, after Natalie's lawyer argued successfully about maintaining the children's standard of living. Only Glenn Wynn from the logistics tech department stuck by him, helping Daniel find a small apartment and quietly sharing internal reports about Richard's decisions. He's gutting quality, Glenn reported over beers at a dive bar far from their usual spots. Outsourcing everything, cutting corners on safety. The board loves it because short-term profits look good, but it's going to crash eventually. Eventually doesn't help me now, Daniel replied, staring into his glass. No, Glenn agreed. But knowledge is power, my friend. And I've got copies of every dumb decision he's making. Just keep them safe. You never know when having friends in the right spots might count. Daniel nodded slowly, thinking of his automated logistics system plan, still saved on his personal laptop. You're right, Glenn. You never know. The empty apartment echoed with each keystroke as Daniel worked late into the night. 3 months after the divorce, he turned the spare bedroom into a temporary office, with whiteboards covering the walls and 2 monitors on a simple IKEA desk. His laptop showed complicated charts of the logistics system he'd thought up years ago, but never had time for. Another internal report from Glenn hit his encrypted email, more proof of Richard systematically tearing down Trans Global's quality checks. Each document showed disaster coming. Ignored safety rules, experienced people replaced by cheaper temps, maintenance stretched too thin. Patient 0 of corporate cancer, Daniel muttered, adding the new info to his growing file. A notification popped up, Lucy's latest try at being an influencer. His older daughter had posted a desperate ad for some sketchy diet tea. The post got exactly 12 likes, way down from the thousands she used to get when Richard's money paid for her life. Emily's LinkedIn showed similar struggles. His younger daughter had at least finished college, but her hopes of just stepping into a big job through Richard's contacts had disappeared. Her work history showed a string of less and less important jobs, each one shorter than the last. Their trust fund was mostly Trans Global stock, Melissa noted, looking over money reports. Now it's worth less than junk. Richard's been quietly selling his own shares for months. The rats always know when the ship is sinking. His phone buzzed with a message from Catherine. Danny, please call me. I didn't get what Natalie was really like. The girls miss you. Family needs to stick together. Daniel typed a short reply. Understanding seems easier with success. Please don't contact me again. Delete. Block. His sister had picked her side, trading family loyalty for access to the country club. The apartment's old coffee maker chose that moment to die with a final gurgle. Daniel grabbed his laptop bag and jacket, heading for the 24-hour coffee shop 3 blocks away. The night air felt clean, washing away hours of screen glare and code. The crash happened right outside the coffee shop. Lost in thought about system design, Daniel didn't notice the woman juggling her laptop bag and coffee until it was too late. Her coffee splashed across his laptop bag, and research papers scattered across the sidewalk. I'm so sorry. She dropped to her knees, grabbing papers. I was reading research notes while walking, bad habit. As Daniel helped gather them, he noticed complicated charts of human behavior and how company structures affected things. One chart especially grabbed his attention. It perfectly matched the mess he'd seen at Trans Global. These are fascinating, he said, looking at a chart on how company ranks affect things. This pattern here? It's exactly what I saw when our new CEO took over. Yes, she looked up, showing smart eyes behind simple glasses. I'm Dr. Olivia Blake, industrial psychology at State University. I study how company structures affect people and efficiency. She tilted her head, looking at him. You get these models? Daniel Conway, former regional operations manager at Trans Global Logistics. He handed back the papers. Your research on why people resist change and hierarchies? It fits what I've seen my whole career. Most systems fail because they don't account for people. Inside the coffee shop, under bright lights that made it feel like daytime, Daniel found himself explaining his idea for Logitech. Olivia asked sharp, smart questions that made him think harder about ideas he thought were done. The main problem with most logistic software, she said, sketching fast on a napkin, is that it assumes people work like machines. They don't. People push back against change. Not because they're difficult, but because most systems ignore basic human needs to feel in control and capable. Exactly. Daniel pulled out his laptop, showing her his early designs. Regular logistics software treats workers like parts in a machine. I want to build something that works the way people actually do. This is brilliant, Olivia said, looking at his charts. But you'll need someone who gets both the people side and the tech side. She paused, thinking, actually, I know just the person. Melissa Newman. She's an amazing software engineer who quit Silicon Valley because she was sick of making apps that didn't care about people. She's been helping with my research. 2 days later, they met Melissa at a small cafe by the university. In her 40s, she had the focused confidence of someone who knew her stuff. She checked Daniel's code with sharp skill. Silicon Valley's dead, she announced, taking quick notes. They're all chasing the next social media craze, ignoring what real businesses need. This, though, she tapped his laptop screen. This could totally change logistics. But you'll need help with how it's built. I can pay, Daniel started. Not interested in salary. Melissa cut him off. I want equity, 20%, plus control over the tech side. Dr. Blake advises on the user psychology. You handle the business, and I'll build a system that makes Trans Global look like they're using rocks and sticks. Deal, Daniel said. When can you start? Melissa was already typing. Your basic setup is solid, but the data needs to move better. Give me a week. I'll have a test version that'll make your ex-wife CEO boyfriend look like the hack he is. Speaking of that, Olivia jumped in gently. I've been looking at Trans Global's public numbers. Their efficiency is dropping hard. If we move fast, we can grab their market share while they're weak. Daniel opened his laptop to show them Glenn's latest reports. Their new CEO is cutting every corner, he said. Safety, maintenance, quality, all tossed aside for quick profits. Classic narcissistic pattern, Olivia observed. Instant rewards over stable growth. Your system's focus on flexibility could really appeal to their annoyed clients. Melissa was already coding. Give me 2 months. We'll build something that makes their system look ancient. Over the next 2 years, Daniel's apartment became Logitech's unofficial home base. The spare bedroom became a real office, with Melissa's desk next to his. Olivia's research papers and psychology models covered one wall, while code diagrams filled another. They settled into a comfortable routine. Mornings for coffee and market research, afternoons for coding and testing, and evenings stretching late as they improved their system, fueled by takeout and drive. The old way of doing logistics is top-down, Olivia explained one night, sketching on their new whiteboard. But people naturally form networks. Your system needs to show that. Melissa typed fast at her station. We can build adaptable routes. The software learns how each user works and changes itself. Olivia brought an understanding of people that turned their tech solutions into tools anyone could use. Unlike Natalie's shallow interests, Olivia challenged Daniel intellectually. Her ideas making him rethink basic assumptions about business and tech. Glenn kept feeding him info about Trans Global's worsening service. His latest report described a big security breach in their outsourced IT. Exactly the kind of weakness Logitech was built to stop. Their first big break came through Glenn's contact at Regional Retail Solutions, a mid-sized chain fed up with Trans Global. Sarah Chun, RRS's operations director, agreed to a meeting after another botched delivery almost cost them a huge contract. Their delivery times are awful, Sarah complained during their pitch. Richard Whitaker talks about modernizing, but nothing gets better. Last week, they lost a whole shipment of stuff that spoils because their tracking system crashed. Daniel showed them Logitech's test version. It'll cut your logistics costs by 40% in 3 months, he said. Or the trial is free. Our system works with how your people already do things, instead of making them change. 40%? Sarah looked doubtful. Trans Global promised 20% and delivered 0. Trans Global is using old systems and cutting corners, Daniel replied. We built Logitech from the ground up specifically for companies like yours. Give us 3 months. If we fail, you lose nothing. 2 months later, RRS's logistics costs were down 35%. By month 3, they'd beaten the promised 40% reduction. Even better, their employee satisfaction scores had shot up. This is a game changer, Sarah told him, signing the full contract. How did you do it? Daniel thought of the long nights coding, Melissa's amazing tech skills, and Olivia's insights into people. By understanding that tech should work for people, not the other way around. Success brought in other clients, each rollout smoother than the last as they fine-tuned their system. Daniel hired carefully, building a team that shared their vision for top quality, no compromises. Olivia's role grew beyond just consulting. She joined their coffee breaks and late-night planning sessions, her presence bringing warmth to talks that could have gotten lost in tech details. Unlike Natalie, who always needed attention, Olivia offered quiet support and brilliant ideas. One evening, after a particularly successful client meeting, Melissa cornered Daniel in the office kitchen. You know she's not going to wait forever, right? Ooh, Daniel said, focusing on his coffee. Don't play dumb. Olivia, I see how you look at her when you think no one's watching. Melissa leaned on the counter. Look, I get it. Your ex-wife really messed you up. But Olivia's different. She sees you, not just what you can do for her. We're colleagues, Daniel said automatically. Right? Melissa rolled her eyes. Because all colleagues spend every weekend going over data, just don't wait too long. Don't take good things for granted. 5 years after the divorce, Logitech Solutions was the industry's hot new thing. Their clients included big stores and manufacturers, many snagged right from Trans Global's crumbling business. Daniel sat in their new downtown office, looking over the latest win. Marcus Wheeler's biggest client had just signed with Logitech, saying Trans Global's service was getting worse. The irony wasn't lost on Daniel. The same beach house used for his wife's affair was probably now where Marcus was having panic attacks about losing clients. His phone buzzed with a message from Catherine. Danny, please call me. I didn't get what Natalie was really like. The girls miss you. Family needs to stick together. Daniel typed a short reply. Understanding seems easier with success. Please don't contact me again. A knock on his door interrupted him. Olivia came in, carrying fresh coffee and a stack of research papers. Our latest results on how people use the system are in, she said. The learning algorithms are hitting 98% satisfaction, better than we thought. Daniel took the coffee, their fingers touching for a second. Your work on company psychology changed our system. The system was already brilliant, Olivia said, sitting in her usual chair. I just helped make it feel right for people. She paused, looking at him. I saw Catherine's message on your phone. Old habits, Daniel said. Success makes people think again about their choices. Does it make you think again about yours? Olivia asked. Daniel met her eyes. Every choice I've made since the divorce led me here. I wouldn't change any of them. They worked late again, going over plans for new clients. The office slowly emptied, leaving them alone with the city lights below. Move in with me, Daniel said softly, watching Olivia look at Data. You pretty much live at my place anyway, with the late nights and weekend work. Let's make it official. Olivia looked up, her expression serious. Are you sure? We never really talked about, I'm sure. Daniel met her gaze steadily. You've never tried to change me, or asked me to be someone I'm not. You push me to be better, while accepting who I am. That's worth more than all the yachts and country club invites in the world. A slow smile spread across Olivia's face. In that case, yes, but we're getting a bigger apartment. Your place is 90% white bars. 93, Daniel corrected, pulling her closer. The next day, Melissa, looking over client contracts in their sunny office, smirked. Daniel felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. On his desk, next to work schedules and market reports, sat a small photo of him, Olivia, and Melissa at a tech conference. Real smiles, real achievements, real relationships built on trust, not try to climb the social ladder. Glenn's latest report arrived that afternoon. Trans Global stock had dropped another 12%. Richard's cuts were blowing up in his face, and big shareholders were asking tough questions. Several board members had quietly contacted Logitech about their services. Daniel filed the report away carefully. The base was built, the pieces were set. Success wasn't just about getting even anymore. It was about building something better than what he lost. The fact that every new client they took from Trans Global nudged Richard Whitaker closer to falling off a cliff was just a nice extra. 8 years after the divorce that took everything, Daniel Conway stood in Logitech's executive suite, watching Trans Global's stock price tank on the screen. Another 12% drop in one day, bringing the total crash to 48% in 6 months. Richard Whitaker's plan to modernize had finally blown up. Glenn's weekly report was open on Daniel's desk, detailing Trans Global's total breakdown. Maintenance pushed past safety limits, experienced people replaced by cheap temps, quality check skipped for fast profits. The empire Richard had torn apart for quick wins was falling apart from the inside. Mr. Conway, his assistant's voice came over the intercom. Marcus Wheeler called 3 times this morning. Says it's urgent about the Johnson Manufacturing account. I'm sure it is, Daniel replied smoothly. Johnson Manufacturing was 30% of Trans Global's East Coast money, the division Marcus had guarded so fiercely during the divorce. Melissa burst into his office, tablet in hand, her usual energy buzzing with victory. Johnson Manufacturing just signed with us. Full contract, no back and forth. They're ditching Trans Global completely. Marcus must be thrilled, Daniel said dryly. Any other good news? Better than good. Melissa pulled up charts. 5 more big clients are rethinking their deals with Trans Global. Richard's cuts finally hit their limit. 3 shipments lost last week, 2 big safety problems, and their new automated system, if you can even call it that, has a 90% error rate. Olivia came in with a thick research report. After 6 years together, they'd mastered balancing work and personal life. At work, she was Dr. Blake, Logitech's head of research. At home, just Olivia, the woman who'd helped him build something more than just revenge. My team finished looking at Trans Global's employee turnover, she announced. 80% of their experienced people left in the last 3 years. Richard replaced them with temps at a third of the pay. And how's that going for them? Daniel asked. Their efficiency is lower than when they used paper, Olivia replied, putting the report on his desk. But that's not even the best part. Check their social media. Natalie's Instagram, once full of fancy trips and designer shopping hauls, had totally changed. The yacht parties and private jet selfies were gone. Her recent posts were vague, inspirational quotes over sunset pictures. True wealth lies within, and sometimes life's greatest storms bring us where we need to be. How philosophical, Olivia observed. Funny how inner peace looks good when the credit cards are maxed out. A notification popped up. Lucy's latest try at being an influencer. His older daughter had posted a desperate ad for some sketchy diet tea. The post got exactly 12 likes, way down from the thousands she used to get when Richard's money paid for her life. Emily's LinkedIn showed similar struggles. His younger daughter had at least finished college, but her hopes of just stepping into a big job through Richard's contacts had disappeared. Her work history showed a string of less and less important jobs, each one shorter than the last. Their trust fund was mostly Trans Global stock, Melissa noted, looking over money reports. Now it's worth less than junk. Richard's been quietly selling his own shares for months. The rats always know when the ship is sinking. Daniel's phone buzzed. Another message from Catherine. His sister's efforts to make up had picked up speed with every drop in Trans Global stock. Danny, please, her voicemail begged. The girls need you. Everything Richard promised was a lie. Their trust fund, their future. You're their father. Daniel deleted the message without replying. On his desk, another report needed his attention. Logan Financial Group, one of Trans Global's biggest owners, wanted to talk about Logitech services. Set up the meeting, he told Melissa, and have legal get the takeover papers ready. When Trans Global goes bankrupt, I want first dibs on their stuff. Already done. Melissa's speed was famous. Glenn sent over their full inside audit. It's worse than we thought. Richard's been faking reports to the owners for years. Send everything to the SEC, Daniel decided. Anonymously, through our usual ways. Let's make sure this collapse is complete. Rain beat against Logitech's windows on a gray Tuesday morning. Daniel,